Yeah, okay. Okay, page 9. Hatoikeya esedet tashrat. Okay, we know tashrat is the sign tkiya shvarim trua tkiya. We'll just call it the shvarim trua set, right? The shvarim trua set, known in short as tashrat, tkiya shvarim trua tkiya. Bein b'tkiyas miyusha, bein b'tkiyas mumad, whether sitting or standing. In other words, regular, it's the main 30 or the musaf ones. What happens if instead of blowing 2 shvarim, so basically what you did is you made a mistake, but it's kind of within the appropriate sound. So what sound should you be making now? The sound you should be making now is tkiya, then a shvarim trua. Now what happened was, how many shvarim were you supposed to make? 3, but you only made 2. And you started, and all of a sudden you realize that you didn't do a third shvarim. Yachzor shuv l'tkoyas hashvarim kihilchasam v'yamshich as hatrua v'hatkiya ve'enoi tzarich lachzor shuv l'tkoyas hatkiya t'kidemet. In this sif, we're basically going to learn that depending on the type of mistake, do you have to start the set all over, or can you just start where you made the actual mistake? Now, hold your head a little. I'm just going to give you a couple of categories. When we say start the set over, first of all, how many sets are in each set?
3.
There's 3, right? We said there's going to be 3 tashrats, 3 tashats, 3 tarats. Does that make sense? There's always 3 sets. When we say you have to start from the beginning, if you're holding the third time, you don't have to start from the first. So long as you have a kosher, tkiya, shvarim tkiya, or tkiya trua tkiya, so long as you check that, you will never have to go back if you did a full 3 set. When I say a 3, it means a tkiya, a shvarim, a tkiya. Remember, the idea is that the Torah says that you have to blow a trua. Every trua must be accompanied by a tkiya beforehand and a tkiya afterwards, right? That needs to be done 3 times. You follow what I just said? The Torah says you have to do trua. The trua must be accompanied, says the Torah, 1 before the trua, 1 after the trua. So it's tkiya, trua, tkiya. Again, the whole question was, what is this trua? Is this trua a shvarim sound, what we call today a shvarim? Is the trua what we call today a trua, a lot of short sounds, or is it a mixture? Whatever that is, each one needs to be a tkiya, then a middle sound, and then another tkiya. They need to be juxtaposed. They need to be right near each other. They need to be one continuous and without any making mistake. So if you made, okay, so that's the idea. Now, does that have to be exact order? The answer is no. So long as you did a tkiya and a middle and a tkiya, that segment has been done. That order, that set's done. Now, the question is, if I made a mistake in middle, do I have to start from the tkiya again? When I say go back, it only means to the tkiya of that line, of that order, of those 3. Why? Because if I made an inappropriate mistake in the middle, why would I have to go back from the beginning of the tkiya? Because remember, if I made a bad mistake in the middle, then it would be, what am I effectively doing? I'm blowing a tkiya, some random blow, then the appropriate blow, and then an appropriate tkiya. So what's the problem? That my middle blow is missing what? A tkiya before. A tkiya before, right? So I'm just giving you the background before we get into the sif to understand. Sometimes I won't have to go back. Why? Because if I'm making a mistake, but it's within what I'm supposed to be doing, I just like, for example, let's say it's a simple mistake. I try to blow shvar and I'm blowing through it and it goes, right? It just doesn't come out. Is that a mistake? It's not a hefsek, right? If you guys remember, you could use the same theory and logic. Remember I told you, if you make a bracha on shofar and then you say something, when is it not considered a hefsek? And when do you have to say bracha again?
Or it's related to the topic.
So if it's something related to the topic, you don't have to make the bracha again because you still have the bracha. You still have the subject. We're still in the same subject. We didn't go off. That's the same exact logic over here. It depending what type of hefsek I made, if I need to start my tkiya again, Or I just say, no, this is on the same subject. It's just like, right? So for example, if I did 2 shvarim and and then went into straight to trua, so did I do almost the appropriate sounds? Yes, I just messed it up. Am I still on the same subject? In other words, yes. So all I have to, okay, see, that's the theory. You got the theory? So that's a theory. It's really just take the idea of the mashal. You can take the idea of the bracha. You know, if what type of hefsek cancels out the original bracha? It's the same theory. What type of hefsek cancels out my first tkiyah? Okay, so let's look inside. So if I did 2 shvarim and then I started doing a trua, I don't have to start again because it's on the same subject. I just did it a bit wrong. So I just need to redo it correctly. It's just do the shvarim again properly, 3. The yamshech is a trua v'atkiya.
Rabbi, is that just lengthening the third?
What?
Is that basically just lengthening the third shvarim? Is that basically just lengthening the third sheva?
I can't hear you.
Huh?
I can't hear you. What?
Is that basically? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is that basically just lengthening the third sheva? Is that what it means?
Is that what?
Basically lengthening the third sheva. Is that what he's trying to say?
No, we're just saying that because I just told you the theory. That because
No, the case. The case.
The case is that he did only 2 instead of 3. He did 2, and so he should have done 3.
No, but then he just after. So that means lengthen the third sheva. That's what my question is. That was basically trying to say.
I'm not sure your question, but
he's saying since you did 2 shvarim and then a tekiah afterwards, does that mean you did 2 shvarim and then 1 long sheva? Is that your question,
Shever would be
I'm saying exactly what I'm trying to say.
A long shever is anyways not a shever, it's a tekiah, number 1.
Exactly, because there's a
number
break.
2, we're not in that scenario now. We're talking about the scenario of a tekiah, and the middle is shvarim trua. But instead of doing 3 shvarim, you did 2 shvarim and went straight to your truas. All you have to do is start your shvarim and trua again, and then blow your last tekiah because, okay, you don't have to go back to the original tekiah because, like I said, the theory is that you hadn't made a real, legitimate hefsek. However, what happens is 2, and because there's a whole mix-up, you started yourself, you breathed, and then you made a trua. What's the issue now?
Tekiah before and after.
Because you made a breath, now you literally made 2 types. You made the wrong sound. This sound was supposed to be a shvarim trua sound. Remember what happens? We said that on the main blowing, if you make a hefsek, if you breathe between your shvarim and trua, what's the halacha? Is it legitimate? No, it's like you made a shvarim and you trua. Now you have a problem because the trua has it's different sounds. It was supposed to be a shvarim trua sound. So the issue is if you breathe, you went do, 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 do. All of a sudden, whoa. You now just made 2 sounds. You're going to try it again. What you have now is a trua before, a whole independent trua, and there's no tekiah. The whole tekiah is canceled because you breathe and you have an independent trua sound. So if you breathe, you got to start from the beginning. Okay, I guess if you're emergency on Mivtza, you're not sure, then just start that line again. That's the truth. But there's no reason to. The idea is that halacha helps you not only be more machmer. Actually, halacha, when you know halacha, you know where to be makel. You know that, hey, I don't have to go back if it was a simple mistake. But you got to know the laws right. Like I said, it would be a waste just to go out there and really mess someone up, thinking that they did the mitzvah. Okay. What happens if you're blowing? You're a little confused, and that's why I told you, best to really go with a siddur and point where you're holding because it does get confusing every time. It's especially blowing all day, it gets confusing. So what happens? You blew tekiah, you blew a shvarim, and then you started blowing the shvarim again because you got confused. I know, actually I just did them. And you go straight to your tekiah. So let's look inside. Im tav v'takashu shvarim. You blew a shvarim and then you start shvarim again. After good shvarim. V'chein also. Im tav v'takashu shvarim trua. Lachar shvarim trua. Or, right, you did a tekiah shvarim and then you started, you did a tekiah, then you did a shvarim trua, and then also you started doing shvarim again. Or you started doing you did a shvarim trua, then again you started shvarim trua. After you did kosher shvarim trua, tzarech lachzor, now you have to start all over again. Why? Because if you made a mistake, then it's like you're still trying to correct that mistake. So you don't have to start from the beginning. You're still on subject. But once you did a proper tkiya, and now you did a proper trua tkiya, shvarim trua, what happens now if I do another shvarim trua? What happens?
You have to go back to the tekiah.
You have to go back to the original, because now either if you want to count my first shvarim trua, if there's no tkiya afterwards because you did another shvarim trua, if you want to count the second shvarim trua, then that shvarim trua has no tkiya beforehand because they're both legitimate. If the shvarim trua was illegitimate, then you have the right to go because you never did a proper one. So you're right. You have the right to still work on correcting that middle guy. But if it was a legitimate shvarim and then you started blowing again, shvarim, and that could happen. I don't think it's so far-fetched. You start blowing and like if you're confused for a second, it takes once because you keep blowing sounds, right? You got to be like so I don't think it's so abstract and so out of the box. These are very practical things that really happen. So if you did a legitimate one and now you do it legitimate again, that's a problem because they're both okay. And either the first shvarim trua doesn't have a second tkiya, or the second, if you want to count the second shvarim trua, you following? Okay, so then if you
just go back to tkiya and do it again?
You start from the beginning of that row. Yeah. You'll have to start from the tkiya again and do a proper tkiya shvarim trua tkiya. Okay, so here's what we're discussing before. When you need a return on the trua shvarim trua tkiya shvarim trua tkiya tashrat, right? The im niskalach, what happens? Okay, when you have to go back, im niskalach shasimas tkiya ha'achroina shel shvarim trua. So you blew a tkiya, and then you messed up the middle, and then you did a tkiya again, and then you realize, right as you're finishing the tkiya, you realize that what? Oh my gosh, I just messed it up. But you're middle. What sound am I making now?
Yeah.
A tkiya. I'm making the after tkiya. So he says, so now do I have to now start again with a new tkiya?
Use that as your.
I could just use, right? Im niskar, very good. If he remembers after he finished the last tkiya that he just messed the whole thing up, he doesn't have to do now a new tkiya because you just used the tkiya that you just blew because you thought you ended that row that say there. You thought you just ended that row of tkiya of sounds. So, well, okay. So if I realize now I have to do it again. So all I have to do is use that second tkiya as a first tkiya. Right? I just make believe it's a first tkiya, and then I continue with a middle. Got it? I don't have to start a new first tkiya. V'im nizkar la'acher shehischel seder acher shel tashat oy tarat yisayim es seder tkiya she'oymid boy v'yashim achakak tashrat echad. Now what happens? You finish the full tashrat, and then you start tkiya shvarim trua, and then your conscience starts saying, "Oh," and then you realize, "Hey," your Yiras Shamayim starts to say, "I feel like I breathed by that last shvarim trua. I just realized. You're rushing so fast. By the time I finished the whole tashrat and the whole tarat, either I finally want to give it to my Yetzer Tov, or I just realized, hey, I think I just breathed in the last tashrat. I wasn't Yetzer Tashrat. Do you have to blow all of the tashrats over again and start the whole thing from new? You don't have to. Remember I said once you tick off a line, if you tick off a tkiya, middle, and tkiya, that is considered done. So let's look at this words. It says it inside. If you remember, after you finish the entire tashat or even a tarat, then you say that tkiya is finished where if you're middle of your second tarat, so you're middle of your second shvarim, you still have another shvarim, and you realize, oh my gosh, I messed up on the tashrat. Now I have to go all the way back to tashrat and get back. No. Finish what you're holding. Finish this group of tarats. You're holding your first tarat, and you realize you messed up one of your tashrats. So do another two tarats. Tarat. Very good. Then pay back one tashrat, and now continue. because the Seder is not ma'akiv. What does that mean? What does the Seder not ma'akiv mean?
Well,
Oh, except.
doesn't it doesn't.
Right? The exact order is not a deal breaker, right? It's not it's meant to be in the right order. You have no right to mess up the order. But if it's because you realize something later, then you're still yoy to the mitzvah if you did it out of order. So he says, finish where you're holding. If you're remember you're middle of your tarats that you messed up some of your tashrats or one of your tashrats, then you say that kiyashayim. But finish the order where you're holding. For example, your tashats or tarats. The yashlam achakach, and then pay back one tashrat, whatever you messed up on. The yaitzav is a and your yaitzav. Kiva should say that above is a shleim is because the full bavis, in other words, doing that 3 in a row tashrats and the 3 in a row tashats and the 3 in a row tarat, that's not ma'akiv. And that means it doesn't mess up the mitzvah. You shouldn't do it like that, but if you already did it, you don't have to start now blowing a bunch of more sounds. Hatakeya say that tkiya shvarim tkiya, baby tkiya is miyushu bet tkiya is mu'umid, without the trua lachat tkiya rishayna or lachat shvarim. So lachat shumet tkiya rishayna shlifnei shvar. Again, if you're holding tashat and a similar tarat, if you started tkiya and you did 3 beautiful shvarims and you start truas and you say, oh my gosh, I'm actually holding tashat. What's the halacha? I gotta start.
Just do another tequila.
I gotta start all over again, right? Because it's a completely
Wait, what do you mean all over again?
From that, I have to start the tequila again.
Right.
I can't just correct my middle, and I can't just move on. So I did a tequila, I did 3 beautiful shvarims, and now by mistake I started a trua. And that's very possible because sometimes, and that's a very practical mistake, because sometimes we're so used to doing tashrat that you do oh, actually, I'm just holding tashat. So I'll stop short my truas and just go straight to my second tequila. Right? That's a very, very practical thing that happens all the time. You do your so you want to, you start your trua and you realize, well, actually, I'm just doing shvarim now. Is that good? No, it's not good because I already started now a second sound, a different wrong sound after my shvarim, even if it was 1 beep. If it was 1 beep and I started a trua for a second, now my shvarim had a tekiah before, but it had a trua after it. It was supposed to have another tekiah. Same thing. So too, if you're holding tarat, tekiah, trua, tekiah, and all of a sudden you slew a shvarim somehow, so obviously, if it's so to put it simple, the only time I don't have to go back to the original tekiah is if I blew only, let's say, 2 tekiyas and 2 truas. I'm sorry, if I blew, let's say, 2 shvarim and the third one didn't work out, or I made a mistake, right? If it's within the same sound, it just didn't work out, and I'm just trying to correct. So let's say a regular scenario. I start blowing, I'm holding tarat. I want to do a lot of truas. Okay, it messes up. I only get 3 truas out. Do I have to start a new tekiah? No, I'm on the subject, remember? I'm still on the subject. So it's the same, that's the theory. If I do 2 shvarim, and I just can't get my shvarim out, I finally get my shvarim out. So I say, oh my gosh, forget about it. This is my tekiah. No, so long as I'm within the same subject, it's fine. I'll go as much as, even if I only did 2 shvarim and went straight to my truas, it's still fine because all I did is I messed up and I'm just trying to correct the middle sound. The issue is if I start new sounds, namely, if I breathed between my shvarim and trua, then I have to start all the way from the tekiah again, because now I made different sounds, or I put in the wrong sound for a second by either a shvarim I stuck in a trua, or I started my truas with a shvarim, then start your tekiyas again, because now I went off subject.
Were you saying that if you can't blow and you're just trying to get out a shever, then saying that's not counted as an extra blow? Yeah.
Correct. That's just if you're trying to get out the shever, it just doesn't come out. It comes out as a trua, or you get 3 truas out and then it goes dead. So then Yeah, that just continue. Start through us again. You're still on subject. Okay. So let's see.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
if you do, let's say, 3 shvar and then you breathe, and then you're middle tashrat, is it better just do a tashrat, or is it better just restart the
Say it again.
tashrat?
Ask the question again.
You blow the tekiah and the 3 shvar, then you take a breath. Is it better to just finish it off at the tashrat or to restart the tashrat?
So then I think if you take a breath, then
Is it better to make it possible or better
if you did 3 tashrats, 3 shvarim, and you took a breath and you didn't start a trua yet, so start your shvarim again because you just cut your shvarim short. Okay? If you took a breath and started a trua, then what happened is you have to start again because your shvarim now will have, right? Let's say that a shvarim, breath, trua, and now I want to do this again. So what really precedes my shvarim trua?
Rabbi, he's asking if you do a tekiah and then you do a shvarim, should you turn it into a tekiah shvarim tekiah? Or should you
Don't turn anything into anything. If you do, no.
Why would you want to make it into a tashat? What's that going
No,
to
because he's
And then
saying.
we don't have to repeat. That's all I'm asking.
I don't think. No, I think that's not appropriate. But the question is, if you blew a tekiah, and then you did 3 shvarim and you breathed, then all you have to do is then start your shvarim again. But if you breathe and then start a trua, then you have to start the tekiah again. Why? Because if not, then what preceded your shvarim trua? Truas, right? Because you made a shvarim, you took a break now, you started a new sound, which is called trua, and then you went back to your shvarim trua. So what preceded the shvarim trua effectively, right? Okay, so let's look inside. Let's do questions 16, 17, and 18. Let's hope we can get this done. Every set must be done without a
breath,
a break, or a hefsek, really, right? So every set's got to be without a hefsek. So in other words, tekiah through a tekiah, no hefsek in between. E.g., no hefsek between tekiah 1 and the trua, and between the trua and the tekiah 2, right? Just one example. That you can't have a tekiah, you can't have a hefsek between tekiah 1 and the trua, and then that trua and tekiah 2. It's got to be, you got to breathe. So this is a little bit, don't get confused. You need to breathe, but you can't make any other hefsek, whether it's with any other types of sounds, okay? 17. Okay, so let's just 16 again. You understood that? Every set has to be done without a hefsek. In other words, example, that no hefsek between the first tekiah and the trua, and between the trua and the second tekiah. It's got to be without any other sounds. 17a, part 1. Making a mistake when sounding the appropriate sound, but incorrectly. So you were doing the appropriate sound, right? So it's a bit tricky, the wording maybe, but hear what I'm saying. Making a mistake when sounding the appropriate sound, you're trying to do the real shvarim trua, but you did it incorrectly, does not require you to go back to the first.
Yeah.
Tekiah, right? You're still on subject. If you did the correct sound, but the appropriate sound, but incorrectly, then then you don't need to go back to the first tekiah, just correct yourself. B, right? Example.
Rabbi, is it considered a hefsek if you breathe in the middle of a shvarim, like you go, whatever, yeah?
Yes, if you did breathe between your shvarim, then you have to start your shvarim again, and then it's fine. It's not a hefsek.
It's not a hefsek. One shiver and you do breathe, and then you do a second two.
Rabbi,
if you breathe, first of all, even between any of these shvarim, it already breaks up the shvarim. All shvarim have to be done with a breath, right? In one breath. Now, if you did 3 shvarim and you breathed, then start your shvarim trua again.
No, not a shvarim trua. Just in a tashat. So you go 2, 2, 2, and then you do.
So then start your tashat. Then start your shvarim again. Yeah, you don't have to go back to tekiah because again. It's
not a hefsek.
Right. It's only a hefsek, ironically, if you did the shvarim correctly, because then you ticked it off. You did your shvarim correctly. It's legitimate, and then you started your shvarim again. Then it's a hefsek because there's 2 legitimate sounds here. So each one breaks up the tekiah. You got a tekiah, a legitimate sound, a tekiah. So you got, right? That messes everything up. But if you did your middle sound illegitimately, so you do, then all I have to do is just correct my middle and continue on. Because, like I said, so long as we're doing the correct sound incorrectly or the appropriate sound incorrectly, I could still fix it, okay? The confusing part is that if I did if in Tashrat, I blew 3 shvarim, I breathed, I'm still good now. All I have to do is start my shvarim again. But if I start my shvarim, I breathe, and I start my truas, now I will have to go back to the tkiya because now I have an independent trua blocking my shvarim trua. If that makes sense to you. Okay.
The 17 is the first blink is the hefsek.
The first, no, tkiya. Making a mistake when sounding an appropriate sound, but you did it incorrectly, does not require you to go back to the first tkiya of the set. E.g.
Sorry, I meant the second one.
Okay, e.g. the shvarim trua series, if one blew only 2 shvarim and began blowing the trua without a
Break.
began blowing the trua, it's supposed to be with a breath, right? That's a mistake.
No,
Sorry. No. If you only blew 2 shvarim and you began blowing the trua without a breath, so you didn't mess up the sound, technically, you don't have 2 sounds, you still have the correct sound, it's just incorrectly. So if you blew the trua without a breath, he may start the shvarim again and does not need to repeat the first tkiya.
Yeah.
However, if he breathed between the 2, now you created a completely different sound because now you have an independent trua. Okay, you got the theory? And so long as I didn't breathe and I did only 2 shvarim and a trua, so I got the right sound, but I got it wrong. So I just correcting that sound. But if I breathe in between my shvarim and trua, what happened is I right now have an independent trua. So if I try my shvarim trua again, what preceded? That means what came before the shvarim trua right now? No. A trua, right? Because I did a shvarim, I breathed. So now breathing marks a new sound. My new sound is trua. Now I want to go back and correct it. So I have a trua, shvarim, trua, tkiya. I have a tkiya, shvarim, trua, a tkiya, and a shvarim, and a trua, and then a shvarim, trua, and a tkiya. That's a whole mess. Okay? C, if one blew a trua in a shvarim set, whether it was before or after the shvarim, it's a half between the...
Wait, so what's the second one of B?
Okay, B is if the second one. So if you did it without a breath, then you could just start shvarim again, and you don't need to repeat the first tkiya.
Wait, what's the third one? Before the
you don't need to repeat the first tkiya. However, if you breathe between the 2, you created a wrong sound, and now you need to repeat the first tkiya of that line. C, if one blew a trua in a shvarim set, before or after the shvarim, it's a hefsek between what?
The shvarim and trua.
The shvarim and the trua. The shvarim and the tkiya, exactly. And he needs to repeat the first.
Yeah.
Nice. Start again, do a tkiya, then a proper middle, then a proper end. Similarly, if he blows a proper trua in the set and then blows proper truas again, right? You blew proper truas. And then you blew proper truas again, what happens? It's a hefsek. It's a hefsek because the first was legitimate. What?
If it's a hefsek between the shvarim and the trua.
No, well, true. If you're just in a trua set, so you need to do tkiya, trua, tkiya. So you blew tkiya, then you blew truas, and then you spaced out a second, you blew your truas again. So you say, very good, it's the same sound, but actually it's wrong. It's not the same sound because now you have a tkiya, tkiya and a trua, and followed by another trua, and then I'll follow by a tkiya. Each trua, one.
Rabbi, we said this loch earlier.
Yeah, but
we said this loch earlier in the book. You said that if you make a breath in the middle of the trua, don't put it on the trua.
Okay, so here's the question. Okay, we didn't ask this as a question. Okay. So again, D. Similarly, if you blow proper truas in a set and then blow truas again, it's a hefsek because now there's a separation between either this first trua has no tkiya afterwards, or if you want to count the second trua, has no first tkiya before it. and he needs to start all over again. Okay. 18. If one realizes in the middle of another set that they made a mistake.
What was that last part in D, sir?
He needs to start all over again. If one realizes in the middle of another set that they made a mistake in one of the sets of another series, right?
When we say set, is that referring to all three of those?
Yeah.
Well,
Tashrat or tashat.
no, I mean just a three of a series. Now I'm referring to a whole series of tashat to shushat. Okay.
Wait, so what's 18?
Okay. If one realizes in the middle of another set, so now you're in the middle of, let's say, tadat, right? And you realize that you made a mistake in one of the sets of another series, like you may just blow the proper sound and continue. I can't remember exactly what the wording I wanted over here, but fine. So you just blow the correct sounds and continue to where you're holding. Something like that. Okay, whatever it is, right? So you can just finish. Really, it's really.
Could you just explain the answer without?
Well, explain is that you've just finished where you're holding, right? So if I'm in the middle of tarat, I just have to finish my tarat sound, and I just can get back. I don't have to start like, oh yeah, and I have to start all over from tashrat again. If you already did two tashrats properly, and I'm now in the middle of a tashat, and I realize that I messed up one tashrat, so finish your tashats up, finish what I'm holding now, and then correct that one three set.
Or whatever it is. Do you finish all three of the sounds, or you just finish the one?
No, you should finish. If you're already in a new series, then finish that whole series up properly, because you don't want to keep flipping back and forth, right? We want to keep the series as complete as possible. So if I never really finished off my Tashrat series, because I only did two correct, one incorrect, and now I'm already in my Tashat series. So finish the Tashat series properly. Do all three Tashats. Tashat.
So it could be blowing out of order somewhat.
We said, that's what we ended up. We said that if you're a little bit blow out of order, try to keep them in order as much as possible. That's why I said, don't go back to your Tasharat and now finish your Tashat. Finish your whole Tashat series. Then do one blow of Tashrat. Because we said the order is not le'ikuva. It's not a game. It's not the end of the world, right? Okay, we're going to pick up a little bit more speed. So bear with me. What if you start blowing and your friend makes a silly joke? Or you start talking, someone asks you, please says, what are you doing blowing horns? And you say, I'm just jogging and this is my oxygen. So you said something. See, what about speaking in the middle of tkiyas? Now, primarily, you shouldn't speak at all. But what happens then if you go? You ready? So you ready? Did the bracha work already? It did work. Why? Because I made a bracha and I started my sounds. So the bracha connected to the mitzvah, right? I started the bracha. Obviously, if I make a hefsek before I started blowing, so I have to say the bracha again, as we said before. But I made the bracha. I start blowing, and all of a sudden I started talking. Or I start blowing. Someone said I started blowing just boredom. Not that I try, because this is interesting. If I do a random blow out of boredom, it's actually better. Why? Because it's not a hefsek. If I meant to blow this and I thought it's the correct sound, but it was the incorrect sound, that's a hefsek because I meant to blow this part of the mitzvah. But if I start making cuckoo sounds, I lose my marbles for 2 minutes. I've been blowing all day. I went and lost my marble. I start playing with my shofar. Besides that, it's inappropriate. You're not allowed to do it. But you make other cuckoo sounds, but not because you're doing the mitzvah. You had a moment of weakness. That's not a hefsek, because ironically, it's better than trying to actually blow the proper sound. Because when I try to blow the proper sound, I'm trying to do it for the mitzvah, so then it counts, and it counts as a hefsek. So let's see, inside if I start speaking stam shtusim, or I start blowing sound stam, she'ain't ever say the tkiyas. Not part of the tkiyas, and I don't intend that it should be part of tkiyas. When I want to finish my series, it's not a full hefsek. So I could just be I continue where I'm holding. Whether it's the beginning of a series, like the beginning of Tashrat, although it shouldn't say the beginning of Tashat, because That means I never start, if I made the bracha. Okay, anyways. Whether tashat and tarat, whether in middle, whether at the end. So even if I'm in the middle of a tashat series and I said a word, I don't have to start my tashat again. Like I told you, as so long as I get a tkiya, a middle, and another tkiya, that is checked and it's done forever. It's good. If I made a hefsek afterwards, so I just continue where I'm holding. So if you by mistake, of course it's as we're going to.
That means, Rabbi.
What?
Does that mean also if you does that mean also if you did a tkiya, then you spoke and then can you just continue on the shore?
No,
or do you
no,
have
no.
to start again?
No. It just
Okay.
means no. You'll always need a juxtaposition. You always need to connect through a tkiya through a tkiya. In other words, whatever that through is, the one in the middle. You always need a tkiya middle sound middle. But so long as I did the three sounds, check. So if I made three sounds, I did my first tasharat. And then someone stopped me in the street and said, hey, you're standing in the middle of the street. You say, oops, sorry, get onto the sidewalk. So now you just said something randomly, nothing to do with Tkiya Shofar. So it's a legitimate hefsek, but it's okay. I just start continuing where I was holding. Now, of course, if you did a Tkiya and started speaking, then blow your Tkiya again, because you do need Tkiya, middle, Tkiya. But if I did Tkiya, middle, Tkiya, Tkiya, middle, Tkiya, and then I made a hefsek, I could just start. Whether I completed a full series or I'm in the middle of a series, just do where you hold it. Okay, Gaba Shemim, also the listeners, they're also not allowed to make a hefsek. So you're blowing for the alta baba and she starts having a conversation in the middle. Just stop blowing, wait till she's finished, or wait till he's finished. If they didn't hear the tkiyas, so you blow from where they stop. Now, if they start talking, so stop blowing and start where they started talking from, because if they're talking, then you're not yotza. If you're talking while there's tkiyas, you're not yotza. So, but if you did halfway through the tkiyas, and then someone picked up, so I had a conversation in the middle, then just start the tkiya where you're holding. Again, if she stopped in the middle of a shvarim, you can't pick up from your shvarim. You got to start a tkiya again. But if you finished whatever you finished, a full tkiya, middle tkiya, you're good. The Eitzar the tkiyas, you don't have to start tkiyas all over again. And even the beginning of that series, you don't have to start the whole tashat over again. If you did one tashat and they started speaking, so you have two tashats left. So then when they finish speaking, you say, okay, we'll continue now, and you just start from your second tashat.
So someone says, like, you're doing tashra, you do tkiya shvarim, and when you're about to start the trua, and someone's like, oh, so now you're going to do the 9, right? And then,
So then start
again from tkiya.
So start your tkiya all over again. Because again, you need to have a tkiya, middle tkiya, but you don't need but that's easy because you're still holding the beginning. That's a no-brainer. The question is if they did that, it will smack in the middle of your whole tkiya. So you're like, oh, you made a hefsek. You have to start all over again. You don't have to start. You just start from the tkiya of where you're holding. Okay, what happens if the Baal Tkiya or anyone being Yotza speak?
What?
Huh? What happens if the Baal Tkiya or anyone being Yotza speaks or makes a hefsek? You may just continue from where you're holding. That's the simple answer.
When they finish talking.
Yeah, because so long as they're talking, they're not listening. So you're not Yotza. So if someone says, you talk, if you say, oh, don't worry, I'm on the phone, come on. Okay, you talk, I'll blow, you just listen with a half ear. At least you're hearing the sound. Not Yotza. They have to be mechaber. But if they started talking, you don't have to start your whole series over again.
So what's the answer?
So simple. What happens is about the care, anyone makes a safsik, when they finish speaking, you just pick up where you left off. Again, that does mean that you have to start from the beginning of that tkiya. But you don't have to start a series over. You definitely don't have to start tkiya shofar over. Just start from the tkiya where you're holding. Start from the beginning of the line again.
What's the lachos on spaces out?
Okay.
Okay,
no extra questions, guys. We are on a tight schedule, so no extra questions yet. At the end, we can do all our extra questions. If you have an extra question, I think it's important, please write it down, or you can just chat it to me. The chat is closed to the public, but you can chat to me or write it down. I can ask it at the end. I want to try to move on. I do believe it is late, but I think we'll finish because, like I said, this is not so complicated anymore. Okay, what happens? You start blowing, you're with your buddy, and remind me to talk about this about buddies and signing up for Tkiya Shofar. We'll get that in a moment. But the Baltikeh starts blowing and you push it out of breath now. It's already your third time. And I can't do it anymore. So your buddy could just take over. Similar, exactly where you finished. That's where your friend takes over. Again, he doesn't even have to start a complete series. So I'm busting. I started my tashrats. All of a sudden, at my second tashat, I am done. So my friend just starts the third tashat, and that's it.
Even if it's in the middle of a tashra?
No, never. In middle of the series of tashat, not in the middle of a tashat, like I told you. A tkiya through a tkiya must always be together. So if I started blowing doo, and now I'm supposed to blow a shvarim and I can't anymore, so I can't now take the shofar and start blowing shvar. But all I have to do is just blow that line, that tkiya over again. So if you're holding the third shvarim, right? You're holding the third time shvarim. So you did already tashrat, tashrat, tashrat. And then you did tashat, tashat, and you are done with. So all I have to do is the third tashat and finish off. I don't even have to start. I definitely don't have to start from the beginning of tkiyas, and I don't even have to start from the beginning of tashat. If you did two legitimate tashats, tkiya, shvarim, tkiya, tkiya, shvarim, tkiya, so all I do is pick up from your third tashat and finish off. And that was the question. What happens if the Baltikeh cannot complete the sounds? A friend, anyone, can just come in and take over. Again, like I said, so long as he starts with a tkiya, anyone can take over. No issues. Okay, now what happens is a very, very Mivtza question. What happens if you're ready, you're to the mitzvah, now you're blowing for someone else? How does the bracha work? So this is not complicated, but very, very important. Let's do this quickly, and then we'll get to the answer. You're blowing for other people. If you're also being yotze now, then it's a no-brainer. Then, of course, you make the bracha. Everyone has in mind that your bracha is for them as well. And when I'm Mivtza, I always say, right, I'm going to make the blessing. Have in mind that there's blessings for you as well. And by saying Amen, very good, then no problem, no-brainer. But what if you already heard tkiyas? I'm going on Mivtza now. I already heard my tkiyas. I'm not going to make the bracha. Keep going. Like, for example, you already heard tkiyas. So what you do is you come to an old age home. This year probably it won't be too possible. You come to a crowd of guys and ladies, and you say, all right, you have to pick out one man, and you say, okay, how's your Hebrew? Good, cool. All right, even if your Hebrew's not so good, don't worry. Joe is going to make the bracha for everyone. Everyone have in mind. He's going to make the blessing for everyone. We're going to all answer Amen. Okay, Joe, you make the blessing for everyone. So you pick out someone from the crowd that is now being yotze, and he makes the bracha for everyone. What happens if they don't know how to make the bracha? Now you're allowed to make a bracha for them. Why? Because Kol Yisrael Arevim Zelazeh. If no one knows how to read, usually, anyways, I say, because most people now know. If I say Baruch Atah Ado, right? Fine. Make sure you can't say Ado, Nai. That's not Hashem's name. It's like a Tkiya Tashrat. You have to say it together. So that doesn't work. But you could have someone say it after you, word and word. And technically, you're even allowed to say Hashem's name for them to make the bracha. And worst case scenario, if there's males in the crowd, then you're allowed to make a bracha for them because based on the halacha that we're all responsible for each other. So, if no one knows how to make a bracha at all, then you can make the bracha for them. You make l'shmoya kol shofar and shechiyanu, and then you start blowing right away. However, if you're blowing for ladies, it's a little bit more problematic because you're not an ore for a lady because they're not yates, they're only chayim in the rabbanon. So if you blow for women, so that and you're not being yates now.
Wait, is this also if you're blowing for men and women?
No, men and women is easy. You just get one man to do it for them. Or you could even do it for the man and then have have everyone in mind. So long as there's males in the crowd, you have to be yates in the mitzvah for the male. So that's not a problem. If it's an all-woman show or one, that's very common that you just bump into one lady and say, do I like to hear shofar? Now,
so did they say shechianu as well as the shofar?
Yeah. Yes. So if the lady can't say bracha, technically, you're not allowed to make the bracha for her because you're not an orev, you're not responsible for her because she's not really chayiv. Now, a lot of practice, like I said, most people are quite familiar with brachas today. So you could just say, okay, start off Start off the blessing, I'll help you, right? Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam hamotzi. No. Lishmoa kol shofar. Fantastic. Okay, amen. Excellent. So usually you can lead them on. If it's someone that's so ignorant that it's not going to happen, well, something really practical is to walk around with an English transliterated bracha, right? It's not a no-brainer. All right, just read Baruch atah. So it's quite practical.
Can you do Lamdeni Chukecha?
Say that again.
Can you do Baruch Atah Hashem and then you go under your breath Lamdeni Chukecha, or Baruch Atah Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu?
Technically, yeah. But what are you going to do by Elokeinu, right? Or you can do
Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Never heard of it?
There is. You could trick around. There's ways. Right? You say Baruch Atah Hashem, and then you whisper to yourself like Lachon saying Lamdeni Chukecha, and then you say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu.
Rabbi, if you're doing the Shema Yisrael, you don't need to do Lamdeni Chukecha. You say Baruch Atah Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu.
No, you can't say Baruch Atah, because you say Baruch Atah Hashem, and you have to finish up a puzzle. Lamdeni Chukecha. Okay.
No, you say
no. You Baruch Atah Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu.
Okay. So
don't worry, you tricked me.
So about the Kele Shay mitzvah. When you blow, you have to have in mind that you do it for the sake of a mitzvah. To learn in other words, you always have to have in mind that with this blowing, I'm being mitzi everyone. And same too, so technically the blower has to have in mind, I'm being mitzi people with this mitzvah. And the people have to have in mind, I am listening to be yotze the mitzvah of Shofar. Now, let's say you're not sure. Oh, I'm not sure that I have in mind that I'm blowing it for them to be yotze the mitzvah. Well, at the end of the day, if you're not, the best scenario is that you think to yourself, I'm blowing to be mitzi the mitzvah. If you didn't have that in mind, you're yotze because that was the initial reason why you went out on the site. So the Shulchan talks about the same idea that someone comes to shul and have in mind to be yotze the mitzvah, but because he stepped out of the house that day to be yotze shofar, even he had no kavanah, it's still fine. Okay, when does the Baal Tekiah make the bracha and when does he not? So obviously, there's a few things. If he still needs to do the mitzvah, then he for sure says the bracha, right? So that's a no-brainer. Scenario one, he wasn't yotze the mitzvah yet, then for sure he says the bracha for everyone. Scenario two, he already was yotze the mitzvah. Okay, so now let's break that down. If there's males that can say the bracha, then he should not say the bracha, right? If there's other males in the crowd and he was already yotze, then he should not he should choose one of the males in the crowd to make the bracha. If no males in the crowd know how to make a bracha, then he is allowed to make a bracha for them. He's allowed to be mitzi with the bracha. If there's only females, then they have to make the bracha. Otherwise, I'm adding the word technically, he cannot make the bracha. Because there's a few, like we said, there's a few cheats that you can do to get the lady, to help the lady make the bracha. But technically, you can't just make the bracha for them.
So what are we adding for that question?
Huh?
What do we add for 21?
That's what you have to write. Number one, when is the Baal Tekiah? If he's being yotze the mitzvah as well, then he for sure says it. Number two, if he already did the mitzvah, that if some male in the crowd can say the bracha, then someone else should make the bracha. Otherwise, he could make the bracha for other males if there's also males, males or females. Then he could both make the bracha, male and female. But there's only females in the crowd. One of the ladies have to make a bracha. Otherwise, he may not make a bracha. Okay, what we're gonna do now
Rabbi,
is.
could you please give us time just to write it down?
Could you say that again?
If.
To write that.
I'll try that one more time. If he didn't do it, okay, I'm not going to start. If he was not yotze the mitzvah, of course he does the mitzvah. He makes the bracha. Now, if he was already yotze the mitzvah, if there's males in the crowd, then best that another male should make the bracha. If no one can, then the Baal Tekiah may make the bracha for them, so long as there's males in the crowd. If there are only females in the crowd, then one of the ladies have to make the bracha. Otherwise, technically, you may not make a bracha for them. But like I told you, there's other ways that you can get them to say the bracha. Okay. Let's go through a few quick halachas. We're going to unfortunately skip the Hebrew now and just go to the last questions. So we're just doing questions now. Question 22. I please advise you that if you have the ability to look at the halachas inside. When is a shofar still kosher if it's split along the length? We had this real issue. Let me bring that shofar so you understand practically. I don't know where it went, but unfortunately it happened to one of my shofars. So again, length means this way. I can't find it. We actually had a shofar. So it means anywhere along the length of the shofar, it cracked. There's a split. So if a split starts there, you following me? There's a split this way along the length of the shofar. When is a shofar still kosher if it's split along the length of the shofar? The answer is never. Once it's split along the length, it is not kosher anymore because we do know that eventually the crack will get bigger and bigger and eventually slit through the entire. So that once there's a crack along the length, the shofar right now is completely not kosher because we have to look at the end result. The end result is that the crack is going to get bigger and bigger. That means eventually it's going to split through the whole shofar. What's the one way to fix it?
Heat. Cut off that part.
You have to cut off that part. If you and that's what I'm going to try to do. It's split over here, and it's that crack's going to keep coming down. So if I chop off the whole part, so long as I still have the share. Now I don't know if it'll be a good shofar anymore. It was actually a fantastic shofar. I've never saw such an easy shofar before. Literally blow and it just blew out, but it had whatever. So it's possible now. If I cut it off, that will be fine. If I get but I still have to make sure there's a shear. Who remembers the shear?
8 centimeters.
8 centimeters. So long as I get the 8 centimeters, that's going to be fine. So, okay, when is a shofar still kosher if it's split along the width? So it gets cracked this way. Let's pretend that's a crack. Now, what's the worst that's going to happen if that completely gets cracked?
The top will fall off.
Part will fall off.
So I just have to make believe, right? I just have to consider. So when is it still kosher? So question 22 is it's never kosher. If a shofar is split along the length, it's never kosher. Now, like I said, there's a way to kosher it, but technically right now, if there's a crack there, it's not kosher. I gotta accept that it's going to split along the whole shofar eventually, and therefore right now the shofar is not kosher. Now, if the split is this way, then let's say that right through the blowing, it's gonna get more and more crack. What's gonna happen eventually?
Cut it off.
It will just come full circle. So I have to make believe this piece is not there. So what's the answer? When is the shofar still kosher? Split along the width?
If it will still be a tefach.
So long as I still have a tefach after the split, so I have to pretend it's not there. I have to pretend that it's fully. The idea is I always have to protect that the split is fully split. So if its split starts here, then what happens if it's fully split? It's going to crack my shofar in half. But if it's this way, it's along the width, then what's going to happen if it's eventually split? That whole piece will fall. So long as I have 8 centimeters below that crack, then it's still kosher, right? What should you do if a shofar has a penetrating hole? So it's not a split, it's a full hole. Now, technically, the halacha is the same. That so long as I have the shear, so if the hole is here, is it kosher?
Yeah.
So
that's 8 centimeters till the bottom.
Yeah.
So technically it's kosher, but the halacha is that you look for, if you can, you take a new shofar. Why? Because the change now completely altered the sound of the shofar, and it created a new sound because of this hole. So the halacha that if there's another shofar around, I should not use a shofar that has a hole. If it has less, if between
Rabbi?
the hole, yeah.
Wouldn't, in case number 220, question number 23, wouldn't the extra part, because it's an extra and it's making the sound?
So because it's still connected, so it doesn't, it's not like, right, I think if I got your question correct, the question is if I stick something on top of a shofar, then it's not kosher because the sound's coming out of a not kosher piece. And if I have to make believe this piece is not kosher anymore, then there's a bad sound. Now the answer is because the chatchila, it was part of the shofar and still part of the shofar, then it does not create a hefsek.
What was 24?
So 24 is if you have a shofar with a penetrating hole, then technically if there's still 8 centimeters below the hole, it's technically kosher. But if there's another shofar available, I do not use such a shofar because it altered the sound of the shofar. Okay, this is simple 25. This is only if there's a minyan. What should you do if you're still saying one of the brachas of Musaf and the shofar is being sounded, right? So you want to have a bit more kavanah, and it happens quite often. The minyan is finishing the bracha. In the quiet Shemona Esrei, everyone's sounding Musaf, and all of a sudden the Kaaba goes, shh, and you're still in the middle of the bracha. What do? Pause, listen to the shofar, and continue. So if you're still in the middle saying the Musaf stuff, and the shofar started to be sound, and usually they tell you that it's going to be sound by being in the bima. So question 25, pause, listen to the shofar, and continue where you're holding. Skip 26 right now. You should fill it out later yourself, figure it out, but 26 skip. We're just going to do 27, 28, and then we're finished. If possible, from what time should you blow?
So 25 was pause, listen to the shofar, and then continue.
Yeah. 26 is basically is 100 sounds. It was technically 130, but all right. Just write to yourself and figure it out later. And what's the total sounds that you're supposed to hear is 100 sounds. There's 30 in the beginning. Then we hear through the musafs, we blow 3 times.
130.
Okay, so the last 30 is only, there's technically 130, but what we're supposed to be listening to the 100 koilas, which is the gematria schach. Okay, we'll get to that some other time. But there's another 30 at the end we just do because to make sure everyone's eight. So, but technically it's called 100 sounds. 30 by mu'umid, another 40 by throughout musaf. You do by the quiet musaf, the loud musaf, and then once by kaddish, and okay.
No, I'm ask someone else.
What?
Pharaoh, please.
Okay, 27. If possible, from when should you blow shofar? If possible, only from sunrise, not from the crack of dawn. But sometimes.
Didn't we do that already?
Sort of.
3 hours into the day.
Yeah, if possible.
Isn't it possible 3 hours into the day?
Huh?
Isn't it possible 3 hours into the day?
Oh, I think that was this answer. Sorry. Yes. So
we talked about Nate earlier on.
Yeah. Originally we spoke about that better from sunrise. Thank you. That we originally from sunrise until, but if you need to, then from the crack of dawn, like if you have to feed a doctor. Now the best, if possible, the best time to blow shofar is 3 hours into the day, and that's because, it says for the same reason we don't do musaf only till 3 hours a day, because in the beginning Hashem's more judgmental and the chesed only shines more 3 hours into the day. So it says better to blow later, 3 hours since sunrise. But with time it's not always practical. It's just the best time to do it is 3 hours from when day begins. Final question. When davening musaf without a
minyan?
Yeah, we don't blow shofar during the tefillah. Okay? We don't.
Wait, so what's 28? What's the first thing of 28?
When davening musaf without a minyan, we don't blow shofar during the tefillah, even with another shofar blower. In other words, even if you're not making a hefsek, even if you have someone else, even with someone else to blow, we actually don't blow. So
even with what?
Even if you have someone else to blow for you, so you're not even like distracted. You say you daven musaf, you stop by Zechrinus, you ask someone else to blow for you. You're not allowed to do that. It's not the custom because that's only when you do with a minion. However, you may blow the final 70 after Musaf.
Martin Ari. No.
All right, well.
First win of Chedon
Nothing.
Avenue.
After you just want to raffle it on.
Okay, is that good? You guys at 28?
No.
So just practical for this year.
Yes.
That if you, unfortunately,
Menachem, stop.
if we are chas v'shalom not going to daven without a minion.
Menachem, I missed like the first Zoom because my internet was down. So what should I do? Should I just watch the thing back?
You could watch the thing back or get the questions from someone else and just make sure you know the answers, not that you're just copying from someone. I don't know. Okay. Like I said, we'll give you about a day or two to review, and then we'll put out the test. Once the test is out, first come, first serve. The faster you finish your test, the faster you can come by and pick up your own shofar. Thank you very much. Now, as a reminder, from Mivtza, so best is you should find the partner. You're not going to go alone. So you should sign up. How it works is, so if you're going with a friend, then one of you sign up, one of you become the official representative and sign up to the link that we posted, which we're trying to conquer all of Melbourne. And we're trying to get as many Jews as possible to know how to blow shofar, to spread Yom of a Kalim of Tzafon of Venegwa, even not Lubavitch shows. We're getting every Baal Tukea possible to really be able to cover every street. You should go with a partner. So either you can go with another bacher, so between the two of you, that you're just learning how to blow shofar, so it's better anyway, it's going to be hard to blow many times. Or you can go with an older person that maybe not knows how to blow shofar, but has the confidence, right? So pick a partner, definitely. And what
about going with a little kid?
Whatever you do, but I suggest that you go with another adult.
What if you already signed up?
So then still find the partner. Now, two partners should not sign up.
Say, what if you already did? Like, I'd probably go with Yechanan, but we both signed up.
So then find another partner, or I think just find another partner maybe, or I think we'll have to have a way of talking like how to find out. Best to go with someone else, and best to go obviously with another shofar blower, especially if you're just starting, so it's easier to handle the situation. Or go with someone that doesn't have a shofar, and you'll have a shofar, and you'll work it out together. All right, guys.
Rabbi, do we need to stick to the roots? I'm saying no. What I mean is.
Thank you, Rabbi.